Welcome to Falcons Ledge. I'm Ostringer, and you are watching an unboxing and initial impressions on the Gladiator NXT EVO, which is the new mid-range stick available from VKB Sim. And this one, I've been waiting a little while for this one. I'm really excited about it. And, waiting a little while is subjective, I guess, for a fairly impatient person like myself, so This is a special device, I think, because I think most people are going to be satisfied with mid-range devices. HOTAS for under 400, stick for under 200, but this stick introduces some features that you can't get in any other mid-range device. And I honestly believe that because of that, it's going to revolutionize what's expected in a mid-range joystick. So, let's get down to it. Let's go. I've gone ahead and opened it and taken the cellophane off just to simplify things and make it so I didn't have to use a knife or anything like that. So let's remove the box from the other box. So this is the way that they come. Shipping was slightly rough, not too bad. It did come from China, so we have to expect that there's going to be some banging around that goes on. So let's take a look at what we got here. We have a left premium. I do recommend that anytime you buy from VKB that you do buy the premium edition. The main reason being that there are other features available on the premiums that aren't available on the standards, which should be expected when comparing. But this little bag here is one of the biggest reasons why. What you have here are all of the parts that would be required to turn it back into a standard. What's neat about that is that, let's say that on this stick, you don't want to have this analog stick. Sorry, there's a left-hand stick. Let's say you don't really want that analog stick. You'd rather have a hat. Well, if you look right inside here, that's a hat switch to put in that position. That is the biggest reason why I would say anytime you order from VKB, make sure to get the premium. Usually it's, $25 more. It's worth it. It really is worth it. So that's what I did, and I'm quite happy about it. Now, as you can see, there's other things in here, like this handrest. And they've actually added in a nice little insert here that wasn't in the previous version. And we will compare the previous version to the new one in my complete review, because I do have one of those as well. But yeah, it looks fairly similar, but I do notice some things right off the bat that are different, and I'm really liking what I'm seeing. It looks like there are some different materials in parts of it, but I do really like this rubberized grip. That's nice. That's a nice addition. Now you can see that this is the standard with the twist grip built in, but that's not the only thing we're going to be using, not the only thing we're going to be testing. So yeah, let's take a look at the base. So make sure there's nothing else in the box. There isn't. They do a really good job of packing, by the way. These things, they are packed in here nicely, and they aren't going to be jostled around or broken. I have yet to receive anything damaged from VKB. So let's move this one over here. And let's pull out the other one. Now, of course, we'll go over all of the details on the differences between them in the review, but I will point some of them out here in this unboxing just because, well, I'm really excited about it, so that's how things go with me. So we got our quick install guide. Oh, that's pretty cool. Got some diagrams there. All right, here's another thing that you receive. You receive a bunch of springs, which helps you to customize your experience with the Gladiator. Now, see, that's one neat thing about this is that I think that one of the biggest features that VKB has in its stuff is just the ability to customize your stuff. And Virpil and Winwing also offer that, and some really small degree Thrustmaster does, and you can pretty much forget about it when it comes to Logitech. So, all right. Yeah, we've got our springs here, and I'm pretty sure I know exactly what that is, and we'll be going over that later. This is to help to install the stick. What you do is you insert this wire in here, and you bring it all the way up until it is inserted into here. And what that does is it helps you to put it in there without damaging your wires. Hang on to this. We've got our USB cable. This is a pretty standard USB cable, so we won't spend very much time on that. Here is something that I'm sure all of you, or many of you, will be very excited to learn about, which is the Omni throttle. This is something I also, and here's the thing, people are going to have questions. Why did you get the standard stick and then buy the Omni throttle separately? Well, that's something I'm going to demonstrate. It's because this stick is incredibly versatile. It can become a standard stick. It can be used as a helicopter stick. It can be used as a standard aviation throttle, as a space throttle. And I'm going to show you all of the different ways this can be used, including one way, which is a helicopter collective. So, yeah, this is going to be really cool. And in addition to that, I've also printed one out. So I'll be able to compare what you can expect between the printed version and this version from VKB. So I have no doubt that the one from VKB is probably going to look better, probably going to function equally as good or better. But I will want to give you guys the best comparison that I can so that you can make the decision on whether you'd like to pay for one or whether you'd like to make one yourself. I'll tell you right now, paying for one's going to be a better option. But if you are extremely budget sensitive, then the printing version is a viable option. So let us take a look at, oh, that's cool. Very pretty. Let's take a look at the gimbal. Just looking right away, I'm seeing some of the differences immediately. And one of them is this piece right in here. That is obviously the lockout, the X-axis lockout. So you have your X-axis here. You have your Y-axis, which will actually rotate here and here, which is hard to do without getting my finger in there or whatever. And then you have your Z-axis, which is the twist axis. And so you can lock out any of these axes using... There's one that has like a little grub nut in here that you can lock out the Z right there. So you screw a screw in there and then it's not going to move. But the one that is the most commonly locked out on this thing is going to be the X-axis. And the reason for that is when you lock the X-axis out, it becomes a throttle. So that's one of the things we're going to be doing. But that is not all. One of the other things that's really amazing is, you can't really see it in there, but maybe a little bit, ball bearings. Now that is a big deal because you really can't find mid-range sticks with all-axis ball bearings in them. That's something you're only going to be getting with this, folks. That's one of the reasons why it's amazing. In addition to the side panels here, the side panels come off and you can put the modules, I should say, on them. They also changed a couple of things here. For example, we have an encoder here, like we do on the previous, and it actually seems like it might be a different encoder because it has a much more tactile. See if you can hear that. Yeah, that's nice. Then you've got your center throttle detent. And this throttle detent has a very nice smooth feel to it. It has some dampening done to it. And then this is a self-centering axis, which is really cool because this is something you might use for radar elevation or something like that in DCS. Really nice addition. I like it. And then, of course, your 3 buttons. So that is the unboxing portion. Oh, I forgot. We also have the base plate, which we'll get out of the bottom here. And the base plate looks identical to the NXT base plate, NXT standard or first edition. You got some rubber mounts here so that it won't slide around. And this is going to mount right down on top and it actually goes this way. And what I did for my my other NXT is I drilled 2 holes right here that were the proper width for my Foxx mounts, and that's how I've been mounting it to my Foxx mounts. Just because this acts as its own base plate, and that way I have a perfectly sized base plate that I don't have to worry about. And honestly, drilling 2 holes there, not a big deal. In fact, if you guys want me to do it on maybe a Falcons Ledge quickie, we can do that. I can certainly show you the way that I did it, and I'm not extremely well, I'm fairly handy, but not all that much. So maybe you can make it look better. But yeah, so let's get this thing together. We'll lay our parts out here. We are going to build it out in. We're going to build it out in standard form first. Sorry, my bird is spazzing out. And VKB includes the tools that we need for this. These things, make sure to keep a hold of these things because these are wonderful. They're made to help you to pull off your springs. And let me see what springs we've got in here. Grip mounting only. Okay, so these are the ones we need, is the grip mounting ones. I believe it comes with the 20-pound springs, and I very much prefer the 30s. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the 30s out of there. Alright, so the way that we would change these out is you loop them around the tip there, and then use this ring to pull them off of the spreaders, okay? I call them the spreaders, maybe they're something else. I'm going to put these over here, and I'm going to grab a 30-pound. Then we're going to loop this over in the same way. Grab a hold of that side, and then just pull it over. And that's all. We're going to grab this one. Going to put grab another 30-pound if I can manage it. Okay. Hook it over, pull it, and it's on. That's as simple as it is. So yeah, definitely hold on to these tools. They're really useful for that. I mean, I have 50-pound springs on my Gunfighter, and they do the job on those too. I know that there's some people who have said that, or made claims that it's so tight that they can't get them in there, but honestly, I have done it a number of times and I've never had a problem. So as long as you follow that process, I think you'll do fine. So I will go ahead and put those away later. But meanwhile, we are going to insert our stick into the socket. So it'll be inserted into the gimbal. We are going to come around here, just like I was talking about, and we're going to feed that wire into that. There we go. We got it pushed up in there. So now we can feed that down through. There we are. We'll take those stickers off in a moment. Okay, and we've got it through. You want to make sure that your stick base is all the way in. Because if it is not all the way in, then when we put these screws in, it's not going to bite them. You definitely have to make sure that it gets all the way in. Alright, so we've got our screws here. And I will insert one. And I am not going to tighten it down right away. Here we are in our second one. Second one I will tighten down, because what I'm doing is making sure that there's no rotation going on in that stick base. There shouldn't be. It's shaped in a way that it's supposed to guide it in. You don't over tighten these screws, because they are plastic and plastic, but definitely want to make sure that they're snug. Okay, so these are done, and what we need to do is we need to plug this in. So I usually plug it in first, and the reason why I plug it in first is that it will give me an idea of how much slack I have to work with, because we want to make sure we have enough distance for this to flex, but at the same time we don't want there. That looks pretty good. That way, let's take these tapes off here. Get off my finger. Okay. We want to be able to make sure we have full movement without stressing that cable at all. In fact, this cable here, I'm going to say, is just a tad more stress than I like. Okay, that's feeling good. Now, there's another feature about this that you might be interested in, and that is each one of these axes have a clutch on them. You can kind of see it right here. I don't know if you can see that. There's a spring right there. And that spring is part of the clamp on top of this bearing. And it looks like these screws right here are the screws that tighten that down. So yeah, if you tighten these down, they're going to pull that clamp down and make it have more resistance when you move. Now, this is important because a lot of people don't understand the value of a clutch on any particular axis, right? So there's a difference between, so these are your 2-axis cams right here. This tightens the x-axis, and this tightens the y-axis. So let me show you one thing that a cam can do for you. Or not a cam, a clutch can do for you. If we come in here and we take this spring off, naturally our y-axis is going to be quite loose. Well, it's not loose because this clutch is giving it friction. Okay? And that's how this can work as a throttle or a collective and not just a stick. But that's not all. These clutches provide feel, additional feel, and it's sometimes hard to quantify. So there's different types of resistance that you feel in any gimbal. And springs are fairly linear, but not always completely linear. And they're going to affect they're going to give you just raw resistance, right? But that movement, that when the gimbal itself changes angles like this, when it's doing that, that clutch is creating drag. And that drag is the same thing that makes this feel good. This movement feel good. If this thing just flopped, it would feel cheaper. It wouldn't feel as good. And I think all of us can probably agree on that. This provides the same kind of feel. So don't discount clutches. don't think, well, I've got springs in there, why would I need clutches? In addition, the springs are not what's causing your centering to be smooth. The clutches are what... See, this clutch is far more... This is a looser clutch, right? This is a tighter clutch. And I actually really love that feel. But here, I'm going to, since we already have this one pretty loose, I'm going to loosen it up even more to where it's not providing hardly any drag at all. Yeah, that's very loose. Okay. See how that kind of wobbles in the center? Just a little bit. Now, if you compare that to, say, a Logitech X52, which has no damping at all, that's when you're going to see a lot of flopping in the center. But when we tighten these down, you're going to see a much smoother movement. And in my opinion, it actually helps with your detailed movements when you have that kind of, it's almost a greasy feeling, you know, just where it's extremely smooth. That does help with the feel of everything. And what I do is I just mess around with it until I can get the two axes the way that I both want. Actually, I'm going to reduce the y-axis just a little bit. So yeah. Now, for my comfort, so I have fairly large hands. You can see that this is pretty crowded. I just remove this. And luckily, VKB made it so even when these are out completely, that the molding looks really good. So I'm going to remove that. Let's take care of that. Oops. There. Oh yeah, much better. Fits my hand a lot better. One of the things I've always loved about the Kosmosima is that it is not a symmetrical grip. So all of your buttons are biased to one side. Even this hat here is biased to one side. So it doesn't make you stretch very far. This is a tiny bit of a stretch, but it's not too bad. I can reach every single one of the controls without really moving my hand out of the grip. Now, one thing that I like to do is pull this off and this off and swap them. There are some people that I've talked to that did not know that you could do that. So, surprise, I guess. But, yes, I really prefer that cupped switch for the stick. Boy, having troubles today. So yeah, that will be the unboxing, and I'll do a little bit of flying as well. But I'm not going to put the base plate on because I'm going to be messing around with a few things. It's very simple. It just takes these 4 screws right here. These 4 screws go into these 4 holes with the base plate on, and that's all done. All of these things are all on VKB's YouTube channel as well. But anyway, really excited to test this thing out. Really excited to show you guys what I think about this. So stay tuned. Sorry guys, I had a part break off my Foxx mount that holds the EVO, so no flight video for the initial impressions. I will have a ton of flight video in the full review though, so stay tuned. Remember that we're doing a giveaway when we reach 2,500 subscribers. To enter the giveaway, please leave a comment guessing what game the intro music came from, or some other relevant comment on the video. Also remember to make your subscriptions public during the drawing period, so that I can verify that you are subscribed. We have a ton of new videos coming, about 1 per week. As always, please subscribe to the channel, it really helps me out. Stay tuned for more Apache content, more hardware reviews. Fly safe, have fun, and have a great day.